This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I've got 9 o'clock and I'll call the meeting to order. My name's John Woodbury. I'm the chairperson of the Committee of Adjustment, and I called the meeting to order. Committee members include members of council. However, we sit at this table as a Committee of Adjustment, not as members of council. Our jurisdiction lies solely with matters of consent and minor variance applications. The secretary of this committee is Holly Melnick. This is a hearing to consider applications for minor variance and consents within the Township of Southgate and is held under the provisions of the Planning Act 1990. This hearing will be in accordance with the Provincial Planning Act and the Municipal Act, the Township of Southgate official plan. Can I have confirmation of the agenda, please? We need a mover and seconder, Brian and Barbara. Any discussion on the agenda? Is anyone opposed to it? Gary, if there's any declarations of pecuniary interest, you can declare now or at any time. I'll ask anyone speaking about an application to state their full name and address for the record. Please keep all remarks relevant to the consent or minor variance application before us, as the Committee of Adjustment has no jurisdiction on other matters. Any material submitted to the committee for viewing will remain the property of the Committee of Adjustment and will be available for public viewing in the application file and may be placed online. And please direct all remarks and questions to me, and that will enable the hearing to be conducted in an organized manner. We have, I believe, just one file today, and it is A1-22.
Chair Woodbury.
Yeah.
Number
We just
5.
Missed item 5, adoption of the minutes.
Oh, I did too.
Okay.
Yep, you're right. I
Hello?
guess I'll go back to that. Adoption of the minutes from February 23rd. I need a mover and seconder. Martin
I'll move it.
and Michael. Okay. So it's Martin and Michael for that. Any discussion? Seeing none. Anyone opposed? Okay, that is carried. Now I'll go on to the file. Property location, legally known as Plan 480 Block E Lot 3, Geographic Village of Dundalk in the Township of Southgate, also described as 60 Main Street East. Purpose of the variance, the file number is A1-22. The purpose of the variance is to vary the parking provisions of section 5.7 and 5.14 to allow for a commercial takeout restaurant. The restaurant will have no parking spaces provided and would utilize on-street and municipal parking. The approval of this application would be to provide relief from the bylaw to permit the takeout restaurant to establish on Main Street. Okay. There we go. Is there a request for deferral or withdrawal of this application?
None received.
Okay, thank you. May I have clarification that the sign was posted, please?
I can confirm that the sign was posted in accordance with the Planning Act.
Okay, thank you. If the applicant is in attendance, and if so, if they'd like to come forward to present their case, they can do so now.
Okay.
Okay, can you state your name, please?
Surendrapal Donjak.
Okay, and is there anything you wanted to say about the application, or just answer questions if we have any?
No, that's okay. I can answer any.
Okay, thank you. I'll now ask our planner, Clint Stredwick, to review all comments received and present his staff report. Clint?
Thank you, Chair Woodbury. So I'll go through my staff report first, and then I'll go through the comments. So The property is on Main Street East. It's referred to 60 Main Street East, and you may have seen it previously where it went through a zoning exercise to recognize an additional residential unit. So there are 3 residential units in that building, and then 2 commercial units downstairs. With the residential units, unfortunately, it's used up all of the parking for that in the back, and therefore there isn't parking for the commercial units. However, that's not much different than a lot of the commercial units that are downtown. A good many of them have 0 parking. So, as you know, the application Chair Woodbury read out is to allow for basically a restaurant, takeout restaurant to exist where people would be parking for a minimal amount of time. And there's also a loading component, which is the other section of the act for requiring of loading spaces. There wouldn't be one, so they would have to park either early in the morning or late in the evening to restock on the street or to access the building. So with a minor variance, you may recall, it's been a while since we've done one of these. You have to complete the 4 tests in the Planning Act, and those being the variance has to be minor in nature. It has to be appropriate and desirable use of the land, building or structure. It has to maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan and maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw without the specific provisions. So does it generally do what the zoning is supposed to do, although may not specifically? So in looking at it, the variance, it seems pretty large, going from 20 spaces down to none. Now that's not, there were 20 spaces and we're getting rid of them. The reason why this is happening is because the existing use that was there, it has ceased, and so that use has a set number of spaces with it. So if I recall in my report, what did I say, 6 spaces, I think I said. Anyways, so that 6 spaces carries forward for whatever new use comes forward. However, as I mentioned in my report, that the new use requires 20, so they're shy a number of spaces there, and therefore require the variance. So is it minor? You don't really look at it necessarily from a numbers point of view all the time when you're looking at is it minor. For one thing, our bylaw doesn't differentiate between a sit-down restaurant and a takeout restaurant. That is a big difference. The other difference is there is some on-street parking available, and there is side streets and whatnot for someone to park for 5 minutes to go get their sandwich or whatever the takeout restaurant is producing. And therefore, based on that, I think it's a minor change. It's also no different than, like I said, many of the other commercial establishments in the downtown. If we either are going to promote businesses or we're not in the downtown. So the bigger issue is the parking and whether or not we as a municipality are going to address the parking issue downtown. But for a business, if we're going to support them, then this would be appropriate. Moving on, a takeaway restaurant obviously is an appropriate use for a commercial building in the downtown core, in my opinion. And then does it meet the test for the official plan? It basically, in the official plan, it allows for parking requirements And I've quoted the sections in there. The policy gives the township discretion to allow businesses to use municipal or private parking areas. So there is, I guess, latitude in the official plan. And then we get to the zoning bylaw, and as I said, it doesn't meet the specific provisions. However, the variance, I think, will still accomplish it and allow this business to get started. And I don't see, let me phrase this right so it's not taken the wrong way. Right this second, if we allowed this, there's probably not going to be an issue. The problem is going to be if every single business takes off and every owner downtown has a thriving business, which is our goal, we are going to have a parking problem at that time. Right now, we don't necessarily, it's tight, granted, there are some issues at times but it's not critical or dire, I would say. Whereas if everything happens the way we want it to, it will be a problem, but it isn't right now. So that's something I want to put in council's cap to, we need to address this in the future, and not just on a one-off and say, okay, you got to provide a whole bunch of parking. That's not the answer. We have to find a lot or change requirements or something to have parking on other side streets, etc. So that's just something for another day to tackle, but it is appropriate in my opinion. I'll go through the comments that I've received. So the first comment I have here is from the County of Grey, and county transportation services have no concerns provided the town can accommodate overflow parking needs. Loading and unloading of goods and services must not interfere with traffic flows along the county road. So provided they're off to the side and they're not blocking any lanes, then it's fine. Staff would also acknowledge there may be an opportunity to utilize some parking spaces at the credit union or other areas. Again, those are all possibilities that could happen in the future. There are no concerns from the county forestry and trails, and so they have no objection. Public Works indicate the road is county jurisdiction. It's in the Wellhead Protection Area B, which is addressed through education and outreach programs. And the Grand River Conservation Authority also has no objection to the proposal. So those are the comments that we've received, and I have no comments as of yet from the public. And lastly, I'm recommending that the application be approved.
Okay, thank you. And the parking is something that is on the mind, and we probably will have another lot where the Lions Medical Building or around that in the future. So that is being looked into, and I'd love to have that problem of all the places being full and having businesses in them. So we'll go from there. So thank you, Clint. And those were probably the most words I've heard you speak in one report in a while. Next, I'll ask if any of the members of the committee have any questions or comments. Martin?
John, just a comment. Can you hear me? Oh,
yep.
Good. Being just a takeout restaurant, I'm just saying that little cafe on the corner, people are there 5 minutes and they're gone, and she's actually thriving or doing quite well, better than she thought when talking to her. So I really don't have any problem with this. The parking, as you said, Clint, John, eventually if that's a problem, it's a good problem, and I think we have things. So I'm okay with this. The whole point is to bring businesses downtown, and it'd be nice to have another restaurant. So I wish the owner good luck. So I'm in favor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, not seeing any other, oh, Barbara, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Woodbury, and to the committee, and to Clinton. We had a really great conversation. Clinton, thank you very much for your time. I would argue that there is already currently a parking problem. We hear it from the businesses, which we are aware of and we're trying to address. Hopefully the municipal parking lot will get fixed up soon. I think one thing that I have heard from businesses and tenants alike is that the tenants of this building don't have sufficient parking already, and they're already parking perhaps their second vehicle, perhaps their own vehicle in the municipal lot or on street parking. That, because we have that mixed use with commercial and residential combined, with the zoning removing that loading dock and putting a residential unit in the back, that increase. So if you have 3 residential units and 2 commercial units in this building, you now have probably more than 6 requirements for spaces. But as you said, Clinton, the spaces didn't exist before. It's just a requirement under the bylaw. And there's so many establishments in downtown Dundalk that currently don't have assigned parking. So I'm supportive of the application. I would like to see us perhaps encourage the tenants we'll have to address the parking in some way, I'm sure, down the road. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Clint?
Just you sort of tweaked my my memory there. One, you mentioned the cafe on the corner there, and you may wonder, well, how come that one didn't have to come for a minor variance? And the simple fact of the matter is, it was already an eating establishment prior to it changing to a different type of eating establishment, and therefore it can continue. And so it actually had the 20 spaces grandfathered, as opposed to whatever this one was, 6, I believe I said it was. So that's the difference there. Just so you don't think we're picking and choosing, but that is the reason why.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Michael?
Yeah, the one you're talking about, it was a pet store before. When was it a food store?
To be fair, pets actually get lumped in with with that in terms of the retail aspect of it, because it's actually selling food and treats and that sort of thing. Their parking requirement is the same.
No. Well, the food's way better in there now. Okay, if there's no other questions at this time, I'll move along. And is there anyone in attendance that would like to speak in support of this application? If so, you state your name and then you can go ahead.
My name is Surendrapal Donjak.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I don't have any comment. I'm okay right now. That's okay.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Okay, seeing none. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Okay, not hearing any again. I'll ask the committee members if there's anything else they have as far as questions or comments. Brian?
Thank you, John. Clint, this currently is proposed to be a takeout restaurant, and with all the various means to do that, if in the future he chooses to put, 2 or 3 tables in there so someone could sit down and have their meal, does that change anything in respect to zoning?
It doesn't, mainly because the zoning allows a certain amount, and we don't, as I said, differentiate between the two. Potentially, it would mean more parking requirement for longer. So it would make the matter worse if he did start to put tables in terms of parking.
But does he need to come back to this committee if he wants to do that?
No, he doesn't.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Barbara.
One quick question that I thought of that I didn't ask earlier. With the change in use, it being a restaurant where there's cooking, obviously increased hazard, does that change the requirement for life and safety in any way? That would be a building code, correct? Insurance, building code?
Building and fire code stuff. That's, I leave that to the experts.
Okay, thank you. So you'll have to get all the necessary permits for that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, not seeing any further. I'll request a mover and seconder to grant, refuse, or defer the application. Brian, you're going to move it, and Michael will second. Okay, and the little note here says I should read the whole resolution. Be it resolved that the committee receives staff report PL 2022-017 for information, and that the minor variance be approved to provide relief from parking and loading provisions of the comprehensive zoning bylaw. Is there any further discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, is anyone opposed to this motion? Okay, and that is carried. The committee's decisions may be appealed within 20 days of the date of notice, and that's to the Ontario Land Tribunal. So now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 9:22. Nobody wants to leave. Okay, Brian and Jim. Okay, so thank you, everybody. Just on a side note, Brian, are you going to be at the planning meeting this afternoon?
Was planning to. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to be on the road, so I'll be able to listen in and stuff. I just can't run the meeting. So if you could take over for that.
So you want me to find somebody that can run the meeting?
Yes. Yes. That's why it's always best to be the first person asked, because
Right.
I had a captain that when he wanted something done, he always came to me first. And the chief said to him one day, he said, "You always go to Woodbury first. He gets things done right away." He goes, "Oh no, he doesn't do anything, but he knows who will."
I will endeavor to do that, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we will see everybody this afternoon.
Okay. Ciao.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.